Yo! What's good? What's good, Daniel? What's good, Daniel Barry Sports Highlights? What's good, man? How you doing? How you doing, man? How you doing? Welcome in, welcome in. Happy Friday, y'all. How's everybody out there, man? Happy Friday. Welcome in, welcome in. Yes, Sirski, it's the weekend. It's the weekend. It's the weekend. I'm not even gonna hold you, man. I've been in a silly fucking mood. Let's see how today goes. Let's see how today goes, man. I've been in a silly fucking mood, but hey, man, let's give it a second. Let's give it a second, man. Yes, sir. It's the Friday. Anybody got anything planned? We don't got shit planned for this weekend, man. We just kicking it. We're just chilling this weekend. How's everybody, man? It's my favorite part of this shit. Alright, man. Welcome to another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball as accurate as possible. Now, today we are going to be talking about the future of the NBA a little bit more. I've had some thoughts about the Boston Celtics and them potentially winning and what that could mean for the sport moving forward. We saw Steph Curry hit 4,000 points. We saw a number of things happen over the last 2 days, so we'll be talking all about that. The Golden State Warriors winning. What do the Denver Nuggets need moving forward to help Jokic out? We'll be talking about a couple things, but I told y'all already, I'm in a silly fucking mood. Yeah, I gotta show y'all this, man, because this is comedy to me. This is so comedy. I found it so hilarious, and I've been singing it. Like we were playing Call of Duty Zombies with my girl sister, and my brother the other day. I kept singing this shit over and over again. But look at this shit.
I would like 3 chicken wings with the fried rice. I would like 3 chicken wings with the fried rice. I would like 3 chicken wings with the fried rice. I would like 3 chicken wings with the fried rice. Used to eat Chinese on the late nights. Had to lay with a hater who would throw shade wife. Box like a
oh, that's so funny, man. OG hitting that shit though. He is hitting that shit. I'm telling y'all, I'm in a silly mood. So watch out. I might say some out of pocket shit today. I'm trying not to, but I might say some out of pocket shit today. But where are we going to start? You know what? Let's start on a high. How about that? Let's start on a high because, I've been really down on my Knicks lately. I've been really down on my New York Knicks as of late. We've obviously had the struggles with we've obviously had our struggles with top teams, right? We're going through a rough stretch right now. So the win 2 nights ago was massive. It was a massive win, right? Like we needed one of those, and we'll talk about a little bit as to why. So let's take a look right here at the last couple of possessions in this Knicks-Blazers game in Portland. They might hit me with an ad, so let's see. Makes his move, drives, block. How's that not a charge? How's that not a charge? And then they called the foul on us. All right, some bullshit. Oh, and then right before that play also, Josh Hart got a turnover for taking a couple steps on the baseline. You can't run up and down the baseline like college. You can't do that. So we got a turnover, so that's why the ball was even on that side of the court.
Scoot Henderson. Bridges to inbound. Knicks break. Hart gets it right back to Bridges. Bridges puts up a three.
Boom!
Mikal Bridges wins it at the buzzer. What a finish!
So, my New York Knicks got the 114-113 victory. There were 42 lead changes in this game. I think it was tied for the most in history. The only other time that happened plus a game winner was with the Brooklyn Nets, and that happened with none other than Mikal Bridges as well. The final for that game was also 114-113. So just talk about crazy coincidences, right? And I've been seeing a lot of negative content, a lot of negative stuff about Mikal Bridges lately. All the players and picks, all the picks that we gave up to go get him compared to the points and stuff that he's averaging. You got to understand, right? He went from a scenario where he was basically the first, second option on offense to now third, fourth, fifth option on any given night. And some people want to downplay that, but that does matter. And then on top of the fact that his jump shot looked broke at the beginning of the year, I don't know what the fuck happened to that. The thing for this is, and I'm not happy that it was a close game. We shouldn't have a close game against the Portland Trail Blazers, even with Jalen Brunson out of the game. I would want for us to be able to take care of these teams a lot easier because they're not very good. And if we're looking to contend for a championship, we need to be able to take care of teams just like this. And the big thing for me with this, Mikal Bridges had not just the game winner, but he had 33 points. 13 of 21 shooting to go with 2 of 4 from 3, 5 of 6 from the line. OG Anunoby had 23 points as well also. 8 of 20 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3, 4 of 6 from the line. And I got to give Cat some credit. 8 of 12 from the field. Not a whole lot of shots, but still ended up with 12 points. I would have wished he had more rebounds because he's been so good at that lately. But Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby being aggressive. I know I have doubts about us winning a championship. I know whenever Big Brucey is in the chat, he cooks me for the Knicks. I know whenever Elijah's in the chat, everyone cooks me for the Knicks. But Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, we need them to be aggressive for 48 minutes a game, every single game on both ends of the floor. And, Brunson is out, I think, 2 weeks, right? Hopefully in this time, Mikal can kind of build up his confidence a little bit. I know OG has already had some really big games the last couple weeks, so hopefully his confidence continues to grow so that we're not relying on Josh Hart to be our third option on offense. So we're not looking for Deuce McBride to go and give us 18 to 24 points off the bench. It'll relieve a little bit of pressure from those guys and allow them to play more free if Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are doing their part to help out Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. I know there was a report recently about Mikal asking Thibodeau to play them a little bit less, that they have capable guys off the bench. With McBride, Landry Shamet, Mitchell Robinson, Cameron Payne, and Precious Achiuwa, it's not the worst bench unit that you could find. It's a solid bench unit. Deuce could score the basketball. I love it when he's aggressive. He's a very solid player. Shamet can be very solid as well too. We've seen Mitchell Robinson and Cam Payne and Achiuwa bring energy. So having those guys play a bigger role on the team, I think, will go a long way. So I'm glad that Mikal Bridges said something. It shows leadership. It shows a lot of positive qualities, but ultimately we want to be able to really stop teams, right? 30, 27, and 21 for the Portland Trailblazers. 3 of their players had 30, 27, 21, and then there was a 14-point. We got to be better on defense. If Scoot Henderson is going to get 30, he can't be 10 of 16. He just can't be 10 of 16. These guys have to do a better job on defense. And that's really that to me, that's really the difference. Every team in the regular season, I guess outside of maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers at this point, has really shown that they can be beat, the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder included. And I think if you're the New York Knicks, there is definitely an opening. Cleveland is not quite, in my opinion, they're not battle tested as of yet. We have to see how they perform in the playoffs, right? The Boston Celtics have shown, and we'll talk about this some more later, that they can shoot themselves in the foot. And then we've seen, even though I think the Milwaukee Bucks are a dark horse, they can lose at any given time to any team. And they've lost a bunch of times to the Knicks this year. So there's definitely an opportunity. Whether or not we take advantage of it remains to be seen. But that was a big win. We got some big losses just before that win. And obviously with Brunson being out, we really needed that one. We really, really needed that one. Now, I wanted to talk about this because Kendrick Perkins had some comments on Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart in the podcast that they have. So let's take a listen to this.
George is not the only person that should be, taking a break from podcasting during the basketball season. I feel like Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart as well need to take a break, because if you're trying to go out there and honestly compete for an NBA championship, right? I wish I would have walked in the 2008 locker room talking about our podcasting through the season, or anybody else. It would have been smoking, furniture moving around there. So
I'm going to say this. There are much worse things you could be doing than having a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of things that go on, right, that are much worse than sitting here and talking with you guys about stuff or whatever. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. Y'all can drag that. Y'all can figure out whatever y'all want to figure out. But
yeah, I mean,
listen. This is one of those situations where damned if you do, damned if you don't. If Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart were to stop their podcasts today, you would call them soft. And because they haven't stopped, you're going to say they're unfocused or they're not locked in or whatever reasoning you come up with. See, it's one thing for this comment to come from just an analyst or a commentator or whatever. Kendrick Perkins played. By all accounts, if you listen to these podcasts, these interviews from players, former and current, there's a lot of free time. Now, I think some people get mistaken by this Mamba mentality stuff about you got to get up at 4 a.m. You got to work out from 5 to 7 and then rest and then this and that. Some people don't understand that that's what an off season looks like. their season for the NBA looks very different. These guys don't practice as much as people think because of the amount of traveling that they have, the fact that they have to rest their bodies after playing intense physical games the night before. Yes, they have to go and get their workouts in individually still. But in between all of that, they got a lot of time. What do they say, right? If you ever listen to these guys, they'll say typically what shoot around is at like 9-10 o'clock. They're there for 2, maybe 3 hours. Unless they have a game later that day, that time is pretty much theirs. And Kendrick Perkins, of all people, should know that. To Jalen Brunson's point, there could be far worse things that they could be doing with their time. We don't talk about the guys that go out all the time, or the ones that are getting these Instagram girls pregnant left and right. But them talking about the like basketball is bad. Like the fact that they're trying to monetize themselves and their likeness away from the game of basketball so they can get so they could get all that money and control their narrative and stuff like that. That's a problem. And maybe if it were different players. Josh Hart plays the game as hard as anybody out there, and you can never question that. Jalen Brunson, God help him on defense, but that motherfucker plays hard and he gets put on his back every freaking game. They're allowed 2, maybe 3 hours at most, a couple times a month to go talk about the fucking game. Like, and listen, I fuck with Perk because I think his commentary is funny. I think some of the crazy shit he says to me is comedy and for entertainment. But you gotta know better, Perk. You were in those locker rooms. You know damn well what an NBA player's schedule day in and day out looks like and how much time they have. You think Zion would look like that if they were in the gym all day long? Like, what the fuck? Like, go look up any podcast. They'll talk about their free time. Like, ridiculous, man. Like, come on, Perk. Like, you gotta be better than that, bro. You got to be better than that. And they had James Dolan on this podcast. Said he got no problem with what they're doing. I don't know why he would. I don't know why he would. And honestly, you know, you got two guys in a massive market like New York, and maybe they don't have the natural stardom the way a John Morant or a Anthony Edwards or a LaMelo Ball has. But they can make themselves more valuable by doing stuff like this. And as a player, as an athlete whose career ends by their 30s, it's good that they're already putting things in place that they could do after their career. So I think it's really smart. I think Perk is just talking. I think he's just on some bullshit. I don't think Paul George should have stopped. I think it was fucking soft that he stopped. If you were going to stop, the time would have been 3 months ago, but here we are and he stopped, and I think it still looks soft, but You think a player shouldn't have a podcast while playing, Elijah? That's wild to me. Because these motherfuckers, I mean, you could say whatever you want about whatever deficiencies the Knicks might have. We're still 42-23. Like, I get the criticism of Paul George. They're 22-43. But we are 42-23. And so, I don't know. There is and is not a way to do it. Duncan Robinson, Dennis Schroeder, and Chris. No, I mean that is true. I don't particularly have a problem with the way the Knicks are doing it, and I think the problems that they have when it comes to basketball, has nothing to do with the podcast. It has everything to do with the roster. It has coaching. Like, all of those problems have nothing to do with the fact that those two motherfuckers get on camera and start talking. Why? What do you think is wrong about the way Dre does it? What do you think is wrong with the way Draymond does his podcast? I actually like Dre's podcast. Cause he addresses everything head on. Like, that's the thing that I appreciate. Right? A lot of times we get sound bites on press conferences where they have maybe 10 minutes to talk about something, but on their podcast they get to really explain themselves, and then we get to decide if we think they're bullshitting or not. I don't know, man. I think these motherfuckers should be allowed to do it. And at the same time, I do think he's just an analyst. Like, I feel like he's meant to be an analyst. Even the way that he talks about stuff, he needs to shut up. I like it too, but he acts childish, then immediately runs to the podcast. No, I see what you're saying, but hey, I think it's a part of it, and I think he does it. I'll be honest, I think he does it pretty well. But honestly, the only time I didn't really like it is when he got on there talking about, I'm about to retire, and then came back and didn't retire. That was the one time where I was like, dog, you wildin' right now. I wish he would have went on there talking about Rudy Gobert, talking about fuck Rudy. That's what I wish he would have did. That would have been funny as hell to me if he would have done that. Let's take a look at this, right? Let's take a look at the other massive franchise in the NBA, which is the Los Angeles Lakers. What was this? This was last night, I believe. Right? Yeah, it was last night. Last night, the Los Angeles Lakers took a 126-106 loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. Another game that Bron didn't play. So it was just Luka out there, and excuse me. Wow. Excuse me. The Lakers don't look good without Bron. It's weird because to me their defense looks bad. I was giving Luka a lot of credit for the defense that he was, looked like he was playing early on. But there are just some moments. There are just some moments right now where that old Luka comes out. And I'll show you guys in just a second. Because in this third quarter is when the Milwaukee Bucks really separated themselves. Giannis had 12. And Kevin Porter Jr. had a massive 7 points in that quarter. That really put the game away. If I'm being honest, the fourth was just a formality at that point. But I wanted to take a look at this particular play. I'm trying to find it right now. Here it is. Mind you, they might hit us with a fucking ad, but let's see. Bro, I need to be an MVP talk. I don't think you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Elijah. But all right, Giannis is in the mid post. What is this? Prince in the left corner. Lillard, Kuz, and Brook Lopez. Right. So these are your two shooters. Kuzma is just there, and Prince can hit shots too. Right. Austin Reeves is caught in no man's land. I'm assuming that their call for this is to double Giannis on the second dribble. Luka's already pointing, right? And this is the thing that really pisses me off sometimes when I watch him. He knows exactly what needs to happen. He knows exactly what is going to happen in this moment.
Trying to match.
Look. He's turning his head. He already sees the motherfucker. He sees it. Austin Reeves is fucking over here counting. 1 dribble. 2. Now he's going to go. Obviously, he's trying to get to the outside so they could force Giannis into the middle, which makes no sense because there's no one in the middle anyway. So just this whole shit just looks awful. What's his name? Gabe needs to slide here and split the difference. Luka needs to be a little bit over. But honestly, fuck the rotation. Luka needs to get down here. You're the one that sees the play. You need to go and try to break it up. It's 81-70 right now. The game is in the balance. And they get the freest shit. And you see, he's like, what the fuck? Motherfucker, you saw it. And I think it's little moments like this. Luka is so good. But there are certain moments. This was one of them. Early in the first half, he gave up 2 or 3 threes just because he wasn't in the play. Guys are moving over. He's still standing in the same spot. Yes, I get he had the one-legged 3. Looked beautiful, right? He did the... And I want to see this because there's people that are calling this... What was the timestamp? Let's see this. There's some people that are calling this a carry. Let me know what y'all think. Is that a carry? I don't think that was a carry. I zoomed in. You know when you get on Instagram and you watching I zoomed in. His hand never got under the ball. So I don't think that's a carry. So I think they're faded online for thinking that's a carry. But for all the amazing things that Luka Doncic does, he needs to minimize some of these other mistakes. And granted, in that play we were just breaking down, it wasn't just his fault. The whole team fucked up on defense. All of them. All of them were terrible in that moment. It's just when it's your superstar who we praise for having such a high IQ all the time, and when you're watching it back, you see that he saw it. Like Luka saw what was going to happen with the play, where the opening was, and still allowed it to happen. And so that's just... And then, and wait, hold on. We got to see this too because this was comedy.
The speed up game. Luka Doncic has the slowdown game. That's the problem. Lynn, he's not guarding anyone. He's not scoring. He's not rebounding. Go small if you're the Lakers. The speed up game.
He just absolutely cooked Alex Len, who Let's see. Who Alex Len in that game. Let's see. In 19 minutes and 29 seconds, had a whopping 5 points. Oh, no, sorry. 2 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, and 1 personal foul. That motherfucker out there doing cardio. He is out there doing, he's a moving cone. Doing fucking nothing. And so, like I said, it is a team thing right now. Their team defense is awful. But I do think Luka can help them in more ways than just being a better one-on-one defender. He needs to start being able to give people the information that he sees and communicating that, you know what I'm saying, on the court far better, right? I'm sure he already realized what was happening once he saw Giannis in that post. He's a very high IQ guy. I would expect more out of him in that situation. But you know, Luka's doing Luka shit, right? He only had 3 assists that game, 45 and 11. So it was another big game, but it was a big loss. If we look at the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis had 24, Brook Lopez 23, Damian Lillard 22, and Kevin Porter Jr. 22. Gary Trent Jr. added in another 16. So just real solid scoring all around. Now, listen, man. I said they're my dark horse. Like, I would not be surprised if the Milwaukee Bucks ended up in the NBA Finals. Like, genuinely, I would not be surprised. This is their issue right here, though. You know, we're talking about Alex Len, right, who barely plays. Gary Trent Jr. Yeah, I don't think he's very good either. But, hey, that's a solid 16 when you got 4 guys with 20 plus already, right? That's a very solid 16. But to your point, it shouldn't be Gary Trent Jr. that's getting that 16. Kyle Kuzma played 31 minutes and had 5 points and 4 rebounds. And 3 turnovers. Talk about a motherfucker doing cardio. He's just out there running. He played more than Giannis and Brook. I mean, what are we doing? Like, wow. Now, I do think they'll need Kyle Kuzma in the playoffs. If they are going to make a championship run, 5 points in 31 minutes is just not going to cut it. I'm going to cut you if that's what you're going to do. I don't give a fuck. I'll pay you to leave this team. But, you know, if he can figure out something, if he could figure out where he kind of fit in on this team in the next, 12, 15 games or whatever, how many they have, they could be very dangerous. And Giannis is him. Like, Giannis is like that. So anything is possible, man. Anything is possible. Like I said, I think the East is a little bit open. It's definitely a little bit open right now. You know what? Let's talk about these boys. Real quick. Where is this shit? Bro, am I tripping? Oh, here it is. Yo, Elijah. This guy, Bruce Merrill, might be him, dog, because the Golden State Warriors just don't want to lose games right now. These boys refuse to lose games. 4,000 threes made by Steph Curry. 4,000 threes, and they are now 13-1 since Jimmy Butler has joined the team. They won last night, 130-104. And they look kind of similar to how they were looking in the first 2 weeks of the NBA, right? That little 2-week stretch when Buddy Hield was going crazy, Steph wasn't playing, Gary Payton Jr. was having some massive moments. Good thing you're not here. He would be baking me. You're not. He might have popped in. We might have just. You never know. He might have popped in. You gotta watch out. But these guys, I mean, they're winning games where Jimmy got 6 and Steph got 11. I mean, like, what the fuck? Granted, the Sacramento Kings are not a very good basketball team, but we talk a lot about win conditions, and they can win currently on this stretch under a lot of different circumstances. Draymond Green led the way for the Warriors in points last night. Shot 8 of 14 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3 with 23 points. I got to give him credit. He's having a hell of a year shooting the basketball. If he would have been shooting the 3 ball this well throughout his career, they would probably have more hardware up there. Like, no funny shit. They might have more rings if he was shooting like this entire time, because there was a stretch where Draymond in real life and on 2K was pretty much a knockdown 3-point shooter. And it was because he was always wide open. It disappeared for a while, kind of like how Russ, but it's actually coming back. And, I got to give him credit. He's put the work in. He is shooting the shit out of the basketball. You got to, imagine him locking everybody up and then just getting his buckets. It would be crazy. It would be crazy. What your ones look like, Dre? But it's just, this has to feel good if you're the Golden State Warriors. What they were doing early on in the season was playing good basketball. They were utilizing their backdoor cuts. Guys were cutting. They were having backdoor baseline cuts, slot cuts. People are cutting down the middle of the lane. They do so much to get easy baskets. And what it does is it makes these guys that aren't as talented a threat. Because at any given time, they can get the ball in a spot where they can be effective, where they don't have to take a step back fadeaway, turn around into a pump fake, step through, reverse. Like, they don't have to do that. They're getting easy layups. And the craziest thing to me that I didn't even think of during this whole process was a lot of the talk about the Warriors wasn't about Steph Curry. It was about who would be that second option guy. And I think a lot of us were looking at Jonathan Kuminga to fill that role. With Jimmy Butler on the team, we have a definitive second option that can get you 25 points if need be. Right now, he's kind of taking the role of, all right, I'm going to facilitate, do all of the little things to help us win basketball games. I think it's taken a lot off of the plate of Jonathan Kuminga, who, I've spoken about it before, right? I think he was stuck between trying to be this all-out scorer, aggressive player, and also having to be a playmaker and a decision maker for the team. This motherfucker was just cutting. He was just dunking on people last night. He was just allowing his athleticism and his youth play the game. It wasn't a whole bunch of one-on-one hang dribble trying to do some crazy. It was easy buckets. And I've said it before, right? If you're going to win championships, your team has to be able to generate more easy buckets than the other team. And if you could damn near go like 50-50 on tough shots, more often than not, you're going to win those games, right? If you could produce more easy buckets than the other team, and if you go like 50-50 on tough shots, you're going to win probably 70, 80, 90% of those games. And what the Warriors lack in talent and in star power, they can make up for it with team play. And if Steph is going to be Steph, Jimmy is going to be Jimmy, Draymond gets to step up and be the third option, not necessarily in scoring, but in just dictating the offense. Buddy Hield can get his points. Everyone kind of just falls in line. And they were my dark horse also, right, for the Western Conference. I think they legitimately have a chance. If you are the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't think you want to play these guys early in the playoffs at all. Their ability to get easy baskets, and then the fact that you have to deal with Steph and Jimmy is I think a very scary scenario that you're going to have to deal with. And then when you look at a Chet Holmgren, I think that Draymond could probably neutralize what he's going to try to do on offense. So these guys look good, man. These guys look good. Now, Steph Curry hit 4,000 threes yesterday or last night. He's the leader in all-time career three-point field goals with 4,000. The next closest guy is James Harden with 3,127. 873 873 threes is what separates the first and the second player on this list. And we're talking about a James Harden that, you know, was just, what the fuck just happened to this? We're talking about a James Harden that averaged 36, averaged 34 in a season. I mean, the fact that it's not even close should tell you just how good Steph Curry is from the three-point line. I mean, just unreal. Just an unreal player. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 times with over 200 three-point shots made. Out of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times he has over 300, and 1 time he had 400, which was in the 2015-16 season. What a guy. And I think this, and I'm going to have a video up tomorrow, Elijah. You'll love it. Because I spoke about this, I think, last Friday. I don't think you were able to catch it. But I think I give James Harden the credit for the style of play that the players have nowadays. The step backs, the dribble one-on-one, getting into the lane, Euro step. Like, everyone has the James Harden bag. Everyone wants to say Steph Curry because he's the one he's the face for the three-point shot, the deservingly so. But no one in the league plays like him. if we had more players playing like Steph Curry, the NBA would be in a much better spot. Because something that gets lost with the Steph Curry conversation is we only focus on the highlights when he's hitting shots on two guys, fading away or whatnot. But him and his team constantly find great shots for Steph Curry. That's something that gets missed. He shoots so goddamn much because he's 42.4% for his career from the three-point line. And so, if you aren't shooting at his clip, you don't need to be shooting 12 threes in a game. Like, that's where people got this fucked up at this point. We need people to really copy how Steph Curry and the Warriors play. Because right now, people don't. And it just is what it is. Steph is the greatest shooter of all time because he's the only guy I can shoot with 2K in 2K. Enough said. No, that's facts. Steph was... I remember when they put his high floating layup in the game. Godlike. He was elite. But I mean, yeah, just Steph is just unbelievable. I wish we had more guys play like him, play off the ball, just a great at shot selection, so that there's less of those contested threes that they're taking, right? I think that's the part that gets missed with Steph Curry. The fact that him and his team constantly find great shots. Like we said, like what we were just saying about their offense as the Warriors, right? Get Steph Curry easy 3-point shots. He'll probably make 60% of wide open ones. And then the ones that are tough, if he's 40%, right? 35%, all right, cool, we can live with that. That's fine. But we need more of the good shots, not the bullshit shots. But Steph is the GOAT. Steph is the GOAT when it comes to that shit, man. And it brings me to this conversation, right? Because the Celtics, Malik Beasley, Curry brothers need to jack shots. No, that's facts. But we got to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, not the Cleveland Cavaliers, sorry. We got to talk about the Boston Celtics because I know I've been high on them. I know Duncan Robinson. No, that's foul. You spitting right now. No, that's facts. The Boston Celtics need to be careful. I think when it comes to it that they are the best team top to bottom. They have talent, they have size, they have skill, they have physicality, they have athleticism, they have everything. But at the same time, they can also shoot themselves in the foot. Straight up shoot themselves out of games. They are their own worst enemy. They put up a record, what was it? 30. What was the freaking number? They put up like 35 fucking shots in the first half. Some crazy shit. Right? And how as a team are you going to justify more 3-point attempts, but less shots, less efficiency? Like there is no pluses. That's what I don't understand about these statistical guys. And we'll get into that in a little bit, right? Who I blame for all this shit. But The Boston Celtics, at times, their game looks unnatural. They pass up wide open layups. The amount of times that I have seen Drew Holiday get into the paint and pass up wide open layups is just, it should be illegal. It should be a crime. Jason Tatum did it in an all-star game, which should go to tell you that these guys have been conditioned to not look for layups, even when they have it. You know, a lot of guys want to blame the players and whatnot. I think this really is a management and a coaching issue. And I think Joe Mazzulla is a great coach, but this ideology behind three-point shooting needs to stop. And in the last two big games that the Boston Celtics have had, right? The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Those, well, that and they lost to the fucking Detroit. But those are the two teams, right? The contending teams that they have lost to recently. In the 8 quarters that they have played against Cleveland and the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have won 2 out of those 8 quarters. 2. 1 quarter was a tie, and they lost the other 5. The fact that you guys are this close to beating these teams and you guys are shooting like shit should tell you everything you need to know if you're the Boston Celtics. And I still think that there's a good chance they win the championship. But now the question that I have is, would it be a bad thing for the NBA if the Boston Celtics are to win the championship again? We've talked about the copycat league. I've already spoken about how people are misreading what the Golden State Warriors did, right? They've simplified how good the Warriors were to just 3-point shots, not taking into account all the other things that they did well, how they got those shots. And if the Boston Celtics continue this, how is it going to look if another team copies this that don't have the players that the Boston Celtics have? It'll look terrible. It'll be like basketball for dummies, trying to teach this to other guys. It's terrible. And so I worry about that. And like I just said, I don't believe that this is a issue that is strictly on the players, right? This is not an issue that we could just fully blame on the players. I think they are following instructions essentially, right? You have to shoot more threes. That's just how we're going to be playing things. And I think the guy that we really should be blaming is this guy.
In terms of my job, we've used a version of AI for a long time. We mentioned this on an earlier panel. The AI is just forecasting. My job is making good decisions. It's all about forecasting. We've used machine learning models for forecasting for a long time, and primarily the big areas that would be most relevant would be things like forecasting draft picks. There are a whole bunch of different forecasting techniques, traditional regression, linear regression, tree models, graphical models. There's like a whole set that have been tried. And they're all like a flavor of forecasting, of which even goes into large language models later. And then for like pick and roll, identification in computer vision. Turns out even humans can't agree on what a pick and roll is or isn't. The most basic one everyone can agree on, which is one guy hits another guy, which keeps him from guarding his guy, and then something happens.
We need to get this motherfucker out of the NBA. I think there's been a lot of conversations over the years about James Harden, about whoever is responsible for ruining the NBA. Some people want to say Adam Silver. It's Daryl Morey. I mean, I know he just said James Harden, but he is also responsible for that style of play. Excuse me. They use statistics. And I'm not saying that statistics can't be an important part of sports, because it most definitely is. But to create entire teams, game plans, ideologies off of purely statistics, that's the problem right there. That's why it's looking less and less like basketball. Because what they're telling their guys to do is not basketball. Like, the thing about the Boston Celtics that's super frustrating is we don't get to see the art of basketball get displayed by the Boston Celtics. Yeah, we see some ball handling moves here and there. We see some step backs. But the act of we're passing a guy to get open over here, the other guy's coming down here. Beautiful basketball where it's going around the horn to a layup. You have a guy that's getting into the paint with beautiful layup moves. We don't get to see that from the Boston Celtics because they are so stuck on pump fake, dribble, 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 kick out, shoot. When it gets kicked out to you, pass it again, shoot. And the part that's confusing to me is, why would you copy this? Like, why would you copy the team that never won an NBA championship? Hold on, I'm trying to... Let me ask a prompt. Let's see what this says. See, like, that's the thing too, right? Like, I just put this shit in Copilot. In the last 20 years, would you copy the Houston Rockets' ideology and how to play basketball in order to win a championship? It responds, the Houston Rockets' approach, especially under Daryl Morey, has been revolutionary in basketball strategy. Known as Morey Ball, their ideology emphasized analytics-driven decision-making, prioritizing three-point shots and high-percentage plays like layups and dunks while minimizing mid-range shots. While this approach has influenced the NBA significantly, leading to a league-wide increase in three-point attempts, it hasn't directly resulted in a championship for the Rockets in the last 20 years. If you're building a team, copying the Rockets' ideology could be a strong foundation, but success often requires adapting strategies to the strengths of your players and the evolving dynamics of the league. Even Copilot knows better that if you're going to have some kind of ideology like this, that is only a fraction of the job. You're only doing a fraction of the job. It's lazy. Like that's what this really, it's lazy. Instead of really trying to think about, all right, how do these guys fit in? What can I picture this player turning into in a couple years? Or what do we need to get out of him to get to this? It takes all of that thought out of it. Okay, how are we going to approach this situation when we're against the Warriors versus when we're against this or when we're against that? By having this singular way of playing that never changes. In the playoffs, you might be able to play one person versus another. No, I'm using Copilot. I'm not using ChatGPT. I just used Copilot. But it's brain dead. Like this is like, you know, when they used to hunt somebody down with pitchforks and shit, right? Like we need to go find Daryl Morey. He needs to leave the NBA because he is the problem. And all the other morons that have followed him after, they are also the problem. We have unnatural basketball being played. And it's silly. It's silly. And I get that. If I'm the players, I'm pissed because I'm getting cooked on the internet for something that is not my idea. Zach LaVine, years ago, I don't know if y'all remember this, but Zach LaVine years ago complained about shooting 3-point shots, even though he's become really good at it, one, but two, even though he shoots a lot now. But he was complaining about it at one point because he was like, I'm a midi guy, but you keep telling me to shoot these 3-point shots. But it's a problem, and I, you know, if you guys remember in December, what's his face? Fucking Adam Silver made this big thing about, oh, we're investigating the complaints about the 3-point shots, and we haven't got a fucking update since. And, you know, meanwhile, the Boston Celtics are breaking a first half record, you know, just 2 nights ago or last night. Like, if the Boston, and maybe, you know what's funny too? Maybe this is a blessing in disguise for the Boston Celtics. Maybe they need to lose and get embarrassed this year in order to wake up and be like, okay, maybe we need to do something a little bit different, right? Maybe we can't keep, you know, this consistent 50, 63-point shots. Like, it's just that can't be the way to play basketball. And if you know, even someone like a Jayson Tatum, right? His mid-range game can't grow because he don't have opportunities, right? You need to be able to take those shots to get better at them. And if he's not taking them, how is he going to improve? And there's just, I think they got a serious problem. I've said it before in the beginning of the year, right? They shoot a lot of threes, but more importantly, they shoot a lot of really bad threes, right? It's a lot of really bad threes. And if you, like, when you're looking at a stat sheet, right? It don't bother you, the NBA, to see 0 for 12 from 3? Like, it don't bother you guys to see 1 for 13? Like, it looks awful. It looks terrible. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. It looks really bad. And so, I think this year will, I think this year is a massive turning point for the NBA. Defense has made a resurgence, right? We have a mid-range assassin in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's again in MVP conversations, and hopefully they can make it deep into the playoffs. We have a Cleveland Cavaliers team that plays unbelievable team basketball, right? And they don't shoot 53s a game, right? They shoot like 35, which is a really solid number, and they shoot at a high clip. And you know, if the Boston Celtics lose and have to switch up their style of play and they get better, I think that's a good thing for the NBA. So the future really is in the balance. Anthony Edwards is having a massive year in terms of the struggles that he's had to deal with. How he responds to this is going to be telling. Ja Morant back this year. Zion. There's a lot of storylines in the years to come, and this year I think is a massive turning point for it. But for now, we are going to turn into the weekend. That is going to do it for me for today. Thank you guys so much as always for hanging out. Before I get out of here, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to be dropping that video tomorrow talking a little bit more about Steph Curry versus James Harden. So if you guys want to go check that out, please do. But thank you guys so much as always. Elijah, you're the fucking GOAT. Daniel Barry, you said yo and not a single word after, but I appreciate you. But thank you guys, man. Thank you guys. Y'all have a great weekend. We're going to be back here on Monday. Same time as always, man. Thank you guys so much. Y'all could have been anywhere on the internet, but y'all were here with me, and I appreciate you guys for that. Thank you guys so much, man. Y'all have a good one. I'll see y'all later. Peace.